Hey, Stoic warrior, we live in a world where people are enslaved by their own thoughts. They're trapped by limiting beliefs. They're controlled by negative patterns. They wake up every day running the same mental programs that keep them stuck, anxious, and weak. But the Stoic doesn't accept this. A Stoic doesn't surrender to mental chaos. A Stoic doesn't let his mind control him because he knows the mind is a tool, not a master. Now, what most people do when they're overwhelmed, stressed, or mentally exhausted, they give in. They accept it. They say things like, "That's just how I am," or "I can't change," or "My mind won't let me." But here's the truth. Your mind can be reprogrammed. Your thoughts can be redirected. Your mental strength can be trained like a muscle. And that's exactly what the Stoics mastered thousands of years ago. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, understood something profound, that we are not victims of our thoughts. We are the architects of them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When you understand that your mind is programmable, that your thoughts are patterns you can rewrite, that your mental strength is a skill you can develop, everything changes. You stop being reactive. You stop being a slave to emotions. You stop letting fear, doubt, and anxiety dictate your decisions. Real mental strength is when life hits you hard, and instead of collapsing, you observe your thoughts without being consumed by them. Not because you're emotionless, but because you've trained your mind to respond instead of react. This strength is not inherited. It's built. It's not a gift. It's discipline. It's the result of deliberate reprogramming that says, "I will not be controlled by my mind. I will control it." And this kind of strength terrifies weakness, because when you master your thoughts, nothing external can break you. So today, let's talk about the kind of mental reprogramming that transforms you from the inside out. The kind of reprogramming that makes you unshakable. The kind of reprogramming that gives you power over your emotions, your reactions, and your life. We're going to break down 6 deep truths, 6 ways to reprogram your brain for mental strength using Stoic principles that have stood the test of time. If you're tired of being controlled by anxiety, if you felt mentally weak, if you've ever wished you could think differently, this is your moment to shift. Let this script be the mental reset you didn't know you needed. Before we dive into point 1, do me one small favor. Like this video if you're ready to strengthen your mind. Comment your thoughts and breakthroughs as we go. Share this with someone who needs mental clarity. And subscribe to Stoic Forge for more powerful growth content. And most importantly, don't skip any part of this video, because one principle, one truth, might just reprogram the way you think forever. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I control my mind. My mind does not control me. Number 1, your thoughts are not facts. They're patterns you can change. Have you ever noticed something strange? Most people believe every thought that crosses their mind. If they think, "I'm not good enough," they accept it as truth. If they think, "I'll never succeed," they live as if it's destiny. But here's the thing. Thoughts are not facts. They're patterns, and patterns can be reprogrammed. Now think about the last time negative thoughts flooded your mind. Maybe you woke up anxious. Maybe you felt overwhelmed. Maybe you convinced yourself that everything was falling apart. Your instinct probably screamed, "This is real. This is who I am. I can't escape this." But here's what the Stoics knew. The mind creates stories, and most of them are fiction. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. Buddha. This ancient wisdom aligns perfectly with Stoic philosophy because both teach the same truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of them. When you recognize that thoughts are just mental events, not absolute truths, you gain power. You stop identifying with every fear that arises. You stop letting every doubt define you. You stop reacting to mental noise as if it's a command. See, your brain is wired to protect you. It's designed to scan for danger, to predict threats, to prepare for the worst. That's why negative thoughts feel so real, so urgent, so overwhelming. But just because your brain generates a thought doesn't mean you have to believe it. The Stoics practiced a mental exercise called cognitive distancing. They didn't fight their thoughts. They observed them. They asked, is this thought true, or is this just fear speaking? Is this reality, or is this my mind trying to protect me from something that hasn't even happened? This practice is revolutionary because when you stop believing every thought, you stop being controlled by them. You realize that anxiety is not truth, it's a pattern. Depression is not your identity, it's a mental state. Self-doubt is not reality, it's a story you've been telling yourself. And here's the most powerful part. If thoughts are patterns, they can be rewritten. You can train your mind to think differently. You can interrupt negative loops. You can replace destructive narratives with empowering ones. Not through toxic positivity, but through intentional awareness. So, the next time a negative thought enters your mind, don't accept it, observe it. Ask yourself, is this true, or is this just a thought? That one question, repeated over time, will rewire your brain for mental strength. Number 2, you become mentally strong by controlling what you focus on. The world is full of distractions, drama, and noise, but mental strength comes from one skill: controlling your attention. In moments of stress, most people let their minds wander to worst-case scenarios, past regrets, or future anxieties. They replay conversations that hurt them. They imagine disasters that haven't happened. They focus on what they can't control and wonder why they feel powerless. But the Stoic does something radically different. He focuses only on what he can control, and everything else he lets go. We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. Epictetus. This is the foundation of mental strength. You don't control what happens to you, you control where you place your attention. And where you place your attention determines your mental state. Think about it. Two people can experience the same situation. One focuses on what went wrong and spirals into anxiety. The other focuses on what they can do next and finds clarity. Same situation, different focus, different outcome. Your brain is like a spotlight. Whatever you shine it on becomes your reality. If you focus on problems, you'll see only problems. If you focus on solutions, you'll find ways forward. If you focus on what's missing, you'll feel lack. If you focus on what you have, you'll feel gratitude. This is why Stoics practiced daily reflection. They didn't just live reactively, they intentionally directed their focus. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, "Confine yourself to the present." Not because the past and future don't matter, but because the present is the only moment where you have power. The present is where action happens. The present is where mental strength is built. The present is where mental strength is built. Modern society teaches the opposite. It encourages you to multitask, to worry, to stay plugged in to endless noise. But here's what most people miss. You don't build mental strength by consuming more, you build it by focusing more. The more you train your mind to focus on what matters, the less power distractions have over you. You stop reacting to every notification, every opinion, every external trigger. You stop letting your environment dictate your mental state. And most importantly, you stop wasting energy on things you cannot change. Mental strength isn't about having no problems. It's about knowing where to direct your focus when problems arise. So when you feel overwhelmed, when your mind is scattered, when anxiety tries to take over, ask yourself this: what can I control right now? That one question will bring you back to power. That one shift in focus will rebuild your mental clarity. Because mental strength doesn't come from controlling life. It comes from controlling your focus within it. Number 3. Discomfort is the gym for your mind. Let's talk about something most people avoid: discomfort. We live in a society obsessed with comfort. People want easy lives, quick fixes, instant relief from any pain or struggle. But here's the brutal truth: comfort is the enemy of mental strength. If you only do what feels good, you'll never build the mind that can handle what feels hard. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius. This quote might seem confusing at first, but here's what it means. Every obstacle is an opportunity to train your mind. Every challenge is a chance to build resilience. Every moment of discomfort is the gym where mental strength is forged. Think about physical strength. You don't build muscle by avoiding the gym. You build it by lifting weight that's uncomfortable. The same applies to your mind. You don't build mental strength by avoiding stress. You build it by facing it, processing it, and growing through it. Here's the cycle. 1. You face discomfort. 2. You resist the urge to escape. 3. You sit with it and observe your mind. 4. You realize it doesn't break you. And the cycle repeats until discomfort becomes familiar and your mind becomes unshakable. It's easy to stay in your comfort zone, to avoid conflict, to dodge difficult conversations, to run from anything that challenges you. But here's what really happens. You end up with a mind that crumbles under pressure. You end up afraid of your own emotions. You end up mentally weak because you never trained your mind to handle the weight of life. Stoics knew that strength comes from voluntary hardship. They practiced cold exposure, fasting, and intentional discomfort, not because they were masochists, but because they understood this: if you can't handle discomfort, you can't handle life. Real mental strength is this: you recognize that discomfort is temporary, but growth is permanent. You accept that avoiding pain now creates more pain later. You stop running from hard things and start walking toward them with intention. And in that acceptance, your mind transforms. The situations that used to break you now barely shake you. The anxieties that used to consume you now pass through you. The challenges that used to overwhelm you now sharpen you. So stop avoiding discomfort. Stop seeking the easy path. Stop running from what's hard. Embrace discomfort as training and let it build the mental strength that nothing can break. Number 4. Repetition rewires your brain faster than motivation ever will. When people think about reprogramming their minds, they wait for motivation. They wait to feel ready. They wait for the perfect moment. But here's the truth. Motivation is temporary. Repetition is permanent. And your brain doesn't change because you feel inspired once. It changes because you repeat a pattern until it becomes automatic. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle. Stoics understood this truth deeply. They didn't rely on fleeting emotions to guide their actions. They built systems. They created daily rituals. They practiced the same mental exercises over and over until they became second nature. And that's how you reprogram your brain. Not with motivation, but with repetition. When you repeat a thought pattern, you strengthen the neural pathways associated with it. Your brain literally rewires itself based on what you practice most. This is called neuroplasticity, and it's the reason why habits are so powerful. If you constantly think, "I'm not good enough," your brain will reinforce that belief. If you constantly practice, "I am capable," your brain will make that your default. The problem is, most people repeat negative patterns unconsciously. They wake up and immediately check their phone. They scroll through content that makes them anxious. They replay negative conversations in their head. They ruminate on problems instead of solutions. And then they wonder why they feel mentally weak. Here's what most people don't realize. You're already reprogramming your brain every single day. The question is, are you programming it with strength or weakness? The Stoics practiced daily journaling, morning reflections, and evening reviews. Not because it felt good, but because repetition builds mental resilience. They repeated empowering thoughts until those thoughts became beliefs. They repeated disciplined actions until those actions became identity. That's the secret. You don't need to feel motivated. You just need to repeat the right patterns long enough for them to become automatic. You don't need a perfect mindset. You need consistent practice. You don't need to wait until you're ready. You need to start now and repeat until you are. So if you want to reprogram your brain, start with one simple practice. Every morning, write down one empowering thought. Every evening, reflect on one moment where you stayed mentally strong. Repeat this for 30 days and watch how your mind begins to shift. Because repetition doesn't just change your thoughts, it changes your identity. And when your identity changes, your entire life follows. Number 5. You can't reprogram your mind while consuming mental poison. Let's be honest. You can practice all the mental exercises in the world, but if you're still consuming mental poison, you'll never build true strength. You can journal, meditate, and affirm, but if you're scrolling through toxicity, engaging with negativity, and feeding your mind garbage, you're programming weakness into your brain. Why? Because your mind is shaped by what you consume. Your mental diet determines your mental state, and most people are feeding their minds junk food. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Jim Rohn. Think about that. Every video you watch, every conversation you engage in, every piece of content you consume, it's all programming your subconscious. It's shaping your beliefs. It's influencing your thoughts. And if what you consume is toxic, fearful, or negative, your mind will reflect that. This is why Stoics were intentional about their inputs. They didn't expose themselves to constant drama. They didn't surround themselves with people who drained their energy. They didn't fill their minds with gossip, comparison, or meaningless noise. They protected their mental space like warriors protect their territory. Modern society makes this harder than ever. You're bombarded with notifications. You're exposed to everyone's opinions. You're trapped in algorithms designed to keep you anxious and addicted. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. If you don't protect your mind, the world will pollute it. And a polluted mind cannot be strong. So what's the solution? You need to audit your mental diet. Look at what you watch. Look at who you follow. Look at the conversations you engage in. Ask yourself, is this making me stronger or weaker? Is this building my mind or breaking it? Is this aligned with the person I want to become? If the answer is no, cut it out. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Stop following accounts that make you feel inadequate. Stop watching content that feeds your anxiety. Stop engaging with people who drain your energy. Because every time you consume something toxic, you're training your brain to stay in that state. That's not strength. That's self-sabotage. And if you're serious about reprogramming your mind, you need to become ruthless about what you allow in. Your mind is sacred. Your thoughts are valuable. Your mental space is limited. Protect it like your life depends on it, because it does. Reprogram by eliminating the poison first. Then fill your mind with wisdom, with empowering ideas, with people who challenge you to grow. That's how you build a mind that's unbreakable. Number 6. Mental strength is built in silence, not in noise. There's something uniquely powerful about a person who knows how to be still. Not distracted, not entertained, not escaping. Just still, in silence, with their own thoughts. Most people are terrified of this. They fill every moment with noise. Music, podcasts, videos, conversations, anything to avoid being alone with their mind. But here's the truth. You cannot reprogram your brain in constant noise. You cannot build mental strength without silence. You need space to think, to reflect, to process. And that only happens when you turn off the world and turn inward. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. This quote reminds us that who we become is determined by what we think about in silence. Not what we say out loud, not what we post online, but what we think when no one is watching. That's where your true mental state lives. Stoics practiced solitude, not because they were antisocial, but because they understood that silence is where wisdom emerges. It's where clarity replaces confusion. It's where strength replaces anxiety. When you sit in silence, you confront yourself. You hear the thoughts you've been avoiding. You feel the emotions you've been suppressing. You see the patterns you've been ignoring. And yes, it's uncomfortable. But that discomfort is the doorway to transformation. Because in silence, you're not distracted by external validation. You're not influenced by other people's opinions. You're not numbing yourself with consumption. You're alone with the raw truth of who you are and who you're becoming. That's terrifying for most people. But for the Stoic, it's liberating. This is why daily solitude is essential. 5 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes before bed, no phone, no music, no distractions, just you and your thoughts. In that silence, you can ask yourself the questions that matter. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What patterns am I repeating? What do I need to change? These questions don't get answered in noise. They get answered in stillness. And the more you practice silence, the more your mind clears. The mental fog lifts. The anxiety quiets. The overthinking slows down. You begin to hear your inner voice again. Not the voice of fear, but the voice of wisdom. That voice has always been there, but you couldn't hear it because the world was too loud. So make silence a non-negotiable part of your mental reprogramming. Don't wait until you feel like it. Schedule it. Protect it. Treat it like the sacred practice it is. Because mental strength isn't built in the chaos. It's built in the calm. It's not built in the noise. It's built in the silence. And the person who can sit with themselves without distraction is the person who controls their mind, not the other way around. If you've made it this far, you already know something powerful. Your mind is not fixed. It's flexible. It's programmable. And with the right principles, you can reprogram it for strength, clarity, and resilience. That's the foundation of Stoicism. It's not about suppressing emotions. It's about mastering your mind. It's not about avoiding pain. It's about building the mental strength to face it without breaking. The Stoics taught us something timeless, that we are not victims of our thoughts, we are the architects of them. And every single day, through our focus, our habits, our mental diet, and our discipline, we are either building a stronger mind or reinforcing a weaker one. There will be always moments where your mind tries to control you, where negative thoughts arise, where fear tries to take over. But in those moments, remember this. You have the power to reprogram. You have the tools to rebuild. You have the strength to choose a different thought, a different focus, a different pattern. Because every time you observe your thoughts without reacting, you build awareness. Every time you direct your focus back to what you can control, you build power. Every time you embrace discomfort instead of avoiding it, you build resilience. And if there's one thing to take from this entire video, it's this. Your mind is your most powerful tool, but only if you learn to control it. Not through force, not through suppression, but through intentional reprogramming. Thank you for watching. If this video shifted your mindset, like it now. Share it with someone who needs this mental reset. Comment your breakthroughs below. Your journey matters here. and subscribe to Stoic Forge for more transformative wisdom every single week. I want you to drop this final affirmation in the comments. My mind is my tool, and I am the master of it.